Welcome into Luttie's Look Back, episode 22. My name is Nick Luttrell. I hope you guys weren't too sad last week without a Luttie's Look Back show. I had a good trip up to Syracuse to visit some college friends. Very snowy Syracuse, I might add, and then I kind of brought the snow with me back here, so I apologize. But it's warm now, so I guess that's good. But I'm back and ready to go for another Luttie's Look Back. Fun show today with a lot of basketball as always, and a little bit of baseball and softball mixed in there as well, because those seasons have started out in the past week or two, so it's very exciting. But we will start my show how we always do with my three big things from Arkansas's much needed desperation win over number 15 Missouri. The final score 92-85. The first thing of my big three things, there was no quit in this team, and that doesn't go just to this game. That goes to recently, this season as a whole. Arkansas was coming off back-to-back frustrating close losses where they played good but couldn't close it out. The game at A&M a week ago, and then the game against Auburn this past week. Two teams that are two of the top 10 teams in the country, and Missouri might be considered a top 10 team as well if they would have beaten the Razorbacks, which they didn't. Arkansas won. But it showed resilience to me, and I think to a lot of fans, because it would have been really easy just to roll over and not win this game, to give up on the season, to give up because of the injuries and blah, blah, blah. All these things that have kind of gone wrong for this Arkansas team. But they didn't do that, and I think that's something to be respected and appreciated. And that's the season as a whole, and specifically in this game, it wasn't too pretty at times. There was a stretch in the second half when both these teams were just giving the ball right back to each other. So it wasn't pretty. I'm not here to tell you this was a great basketball game between great teams. I think Missouri's a great team. I think Arkansas is a good team. At times they didn't play like themselves on Saturday night, but they showed resilience. There was no quit in this team. I think, they were down 8 at one point in the first half. I was like, getting a little worried. Then they came back in the second half, made some three-pointers, which was really clutch of this team to start making three-pointers in the second half when they really need to. And then when they were up by double digits in the second half, I don't think anyone felt really comfortable with that double-digit lead, but they kept pushing their pace. They kept doing what they do best, and that's really defense, honestly. That's intense defense, and converting off of turnovers. That's what they did so well in the first half when they couldn't make a lot of shots as far as just shooting a three-pointer. They only made one three-pointer in the first half. They turned Missouri over. They got to the other end, and they had a lot of fast break points with the Duthero and a lot of the other physical players that this Razorback team has. So there was no quit in this team, and I think that obviously that's a really good sign heading into what's probably going to be what is a really important last 4 games for this Razorback team, and hopefully a March Madness tournament run. We will see. But that is my first point. The second point, I mentioned Duthero, but it wasn't just him. I mean, he didn't have an amazing game. He had 11 points, and he's been a little bit down as of late, and that's okay because other guys have stepped up. But it was a balanced effort, and I don't think we've seen that at times this season. I think it's been a little inconsistent as far as who is going to be the playmaker, who's going to be the leading scorer. Now, the leading scorer in this game was Big Z again, which, man, that was good to see him get back to his groove a little bit. It wasn't his groove against Alabama where he's hitting step-back three-pointers, but it's not as bad as Auburn when he's going 0 for 9 from beyond the arc or whatever it was. Big Z with 20 points. He only made one three-pointer, but it was a big one. Nelly Davis, I think if there's one player that this win, that deserves this win or got the win for the Razorbacks, I think it's Nelly Davis. 18 points for the Razorbacks. Made a couple three-pointers. I think he was 4 for 7, 4 for 8 from beyond the arc. But the thing is, his three-pointers came at really clutch times. And so that's something that they've struggled at a little bit this season, especially Nelly, making three-pointers when they really need to. And he didn't in the first half, and a lot of the Razorbacks didn't in the first half. But Nelly Davis finally woke up, made a couple big-time three-pointers, and he's been playing better as of late. It's kind of funny. Since that time, I called him out probably about a month ago, and I said I would take, who was it? Some A-State player, maybe Darian Ford. I said I'd take Darian Ford over John L. Davis, any day of the week. And since that game, or since I said that, I think it was the Kentucky game where he kind of broke out of his slump. He hasn't been amazing. He still hasn't been the #1 transfer shooting guard that we thought he was going to be, but he's been better. And that's the big thing with all of these guys. They're getting better. Not just individually, when you look at a guy like Carter Knox, who's played really good the past 5 games or so, or if you look at DJ Wagner, who's also playing better. He's stepped up into that needed role that Boogie Flan left when he got injured. But it's not just individuals, it's the team as a whole that is getting better. It's not amazing, it's not show-stopping, it's not incredible, but it's enough to get these wins. It's enough to get this win, and it's enough to hopefully impress the selection committee, because I'm going to guess Arkansas is not going to win the next 4 games. If they win all 4, that's great. They're for sure into the tournament. I'm going to guess they're going to lose 1 or 2. And if they split these games, they should be in, but you never know. And so the selection committee, it's people like you and me, well, probably much smarter than me, watching all these basketball games and choosing who deserves to be in the field, who deserves to make it into the big dance, into March Madness, who will be dancing in March. And so when you look at a team like Arkansas that's been playing better as of late, and while, yes, they've lost some close, frustrating games, those games shouldn't affect their whether they get in or not as far as, let me restate this. They lost those games, and that doesn't matter as much as if they were to win those games. So what I'm saying is, if they would have beat Auburn or Alabama or Texas A&M, their resume would have shot up. In the net rankings, they would have shot up like 10 or 15 spots probably. But they lost those games, but they lost them by close margins, so they didn't move around that much. I'm getting off topic about the whole net rankings and about Arkansas being a March Madness team, which I think they are, but it was a balanced effort in this game for the Razorbacks, which is what you want to see heading into a really good last 4 games. My last point is a song that I like to sing. I'm going to try to do it for you guys. Staying alive, staying alive. All right, I'm not very much of a singer, so you can say I'm blushing a little bit, but that song is it's just indicative of what this Arkansas team is doing right now. They are staying alive in their NCAA tournament postseason chances. They're staying alive when it comes to that. They don't want to be an NIT team. They don't want to have to go to the SEC tournament and win every single game and win the SEC championship. Well, that would be nice. But they're not that team. They're trying to make it to the NCAA tournament, and I think it's working. Obviously, 4 games left, so they need to keep winning. But they're staying alive. They're doing just enough to stay on that bubble. So we'll see how the next 4 game goes. Those are some of my thoughts and a little bit of singing from me. Let's hear from Coach Cal. No singing from him, but let's hear what he had to say after the game.
Today I broke out the refuse to lose. I don't care what you do, how you do it, refuse to lose. When it's late in the game, refuse to lose. We had timeouts. We called them instead of throwing the ball away. The other thing that was really, we're 4-3 the last 7. We lost to the 1 team, the 2 team, and the 6 or 7 team. That's who we lost to. And this team was a top 10 team. If they beat us today, they probably were 8 or 9. So that was a big-time win. But you know what? Now we got to finish. Yes, we won 4 out of 7, 4-3. Let's keep going now.
And both Coach Cal and Big Z and John L. Davis, when they spoke to the media afterwards, they both really complimented the crowd and how much of the crowd and the Arkansas faithful and Hog Nation really helped them. They didn't say it like they helped us win, but there was clearly like it helped them win, even though they didn't say it. There was an impact that the crowd made on this game and helping them out. Cal's definitely said that after the game. So, Hog Nation, it's a big game. Be there, be loud inside of Bud Walton Arena against a Texas team that is also right on the bubble. Arkansas's record and Texas' record overall and in conference are exactly the same. Both of them, I think, are on the last 4 in. They're somewhere around that bubble of whether they might get in, they might not get into the NCAA tournament. So it's a big game. If you can beat them, you're in. You're in. Obviously, you got 3 games left after that, but you're probably in if you beat Texas. Because then after that, you go on the road at South Carolina, who's only won 1 SEC game this year, which was this past weekend to Texas. So you beat Texas, hopefully, and then you beat South Carolina, even though it's on the road. Arkansas has played better on the road sometimes this season. You get the Texas game, you get the South Carolina game, you go on the road at Vandy team that is also on the bubble. Let's say you lose that one, and then you come back home to a Mississippi State team that is ranked in the top 25. I don't think they'll be ranked anymore. I think they lost over the weekend. I cannot remember who they lost to, but it's a decent Mississippi State team that is definitely in the tournament. And if Arkansas wins that game, they're for sure in. If they win 3 out of the next 4, they're for sure in. So we'll see how it goes. 4 games left, deep breaths. Arkansas is on the bubble, which is kind of rare to say. I feel like they're either in or they're out. But right now they're on the bubble, and that's how it's been for the past month or so. They need to win games. Simple as that. They need to win some games. So big one Wednesday night against Texas. That's the men's basketball talk. Let's move on to baseball. First time we're going to talk about Arkansas baseball as far as specifically on this show. I've mentioned it maybe briefly in the past show or two. I didn't have last week's show, and that was opening weekend where the Hogs looked really good. I'd give it an A- probably against Washington State, 4-0. This past weekend they were in I still call it the Globe Life Classic because that's what it's been called the past few years. It's now called the College Baseball Classic. I don't know. It's in Arlington, Texas. It's at Globe Life Field. Anyway, Arkansas played 3 games, lost the first one 3-2 to Kansas State. Then they won the next day to TCU 2-1, and then they won yesterday against Michigan 8-6. Look, I'll kind of go through 3 quick things and then move on to some other basketball talk because I do want to talk about this baseball team because we're going to be talking about them a lot on this show, especially once all these basketball teams get over with. So Arkansas baseball, we'll go with the kind of the 3 big things they talk about when you talk about a baseball team: pitching, fielding, and hitting. And I've watched I watched half of the games probably so far this year. I've obviously kept up with a lot of them as well. Pitching, Arkansas is loaded. They are deep. They are better than they were last year. They don't have a guy as good as Hagen Smith this year, but they have a really deep roster. That's what I've heard. That's what I would say I've seen. Now we're they're only 7 games or so into the season, so it's hard to really tell. But I would say they're a really loaded and talented roster, starting with the 3 guys who they kind of going to be their weekend guys or their go-to guys, I guess, in games 1, 2, and 3 this season. Starting with Gabe Gackel. Talk about him briefly over the weekend. 2 strikeouts, 2 earned runs on 5 2/3 innings pitched. Wasn't his best outing, and he gave up those two runs, and then Arkansas would later give up another one, and that's how they lost to Kansas State. You can't put the loss on him on Friday night's game. You just can't. The bats should have got going better. They did in that Michigan game, but they didn't in this one. But Gabe Gackel was not at his best. At his best, I think he's going to be really good. Here's Hagen Smith. I think Gabe Gackel is right here. And then there's all the other Arkansas pitchers. I think there's that level to him that we're going to see. You saw it a little bit against Washington State if you watched the game. You didn't see it against this Kansas State team. So hopefully he gets back on his feet. Everyone has rough outings. And for this to be a rough outing, if this is his worst outing of the season and he only gives up 2 earned runs and he fought through when he wasn't really pitching that well, he's good. He's really good. Their day 2 starter, Zach Root, he probably looked the best out of the pitching staff for this past weekend in the Globe Life Classic. 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 10 strikeouts. The lefty can really sling it. And then Gage Wood was looking really good through 2 innings. He had 6 strikeouts through 2 innings. And then all the guys he got out were strikeouts. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't think about that. Well, Gage Wood goes out for the 3rd inning and starts warming up. And you can tell something kind of went wrong as he was doing his warm-up routine. And he kind of looks to the dugout, kind of gives them something's wrong. So then they come out to him. He's pointing at his right shoulder, it looks like. So apparently he's going to, not apparently, he is going to get an MRI soon. So we'll hopefully have results from that. And hopefully it's not too bad. A shoulder, hopefully it won't be much. That's better than your elbow hurting, probably. So hopefully Gage Wood is okay. He was pitching great in that game, but Arkansas still ends up getting the win against Michigan. So that's a little bit about pitching from the weekend. Fielding has been good, not great. I don't have a ton of analysis on the fielding. Arkansas has turned a lot of double plays this season so far, which is good. Having Vahiva Aloy, who had some mistakes in yesterday's game against Michigan, but having him at shortstop is great for the Hogs. He's made a lot of great plays so far this season, and the fielding has been good, not great is how I would define it. And then hitting has just been okay. There's been some bright spots here and there, and they have the potential. I just hope they get it going for Nate Thompson's sake so he doesn't get trashed on Twitter the rest of the season. The hitting coach for the Razorbacks, and Arkansas has not done well hitting the ball in recent years. A lot of people say that's why they've lost in these regional games the past 2 seasons. It's because they've relied too much on their pitching. And it kind of seems like the same thing is happening so far this year. Except in this Michigan game, which Michigan's, I don't think, that good. They lost all of their games in this college baseball classic this weekend. But Arkansas, they got hitters, but hopefully they can get them going. But a couple guys that are already going right now, the Aloy brothers. You see one of them behind me, Kohio, the new Razorback, the brother of Vahiva Aloy, the shortstop for the Razorbacks. They were both on fire. They've been batting over 400 this year. Brent Iredale has also been good, the Aussie third baseman from New Mexico Junior College, I believe. But Arkansas is just struggling with the hitting. They need to have some more clutch hitting. That's been the struggle for them. So 3 weeks to SEC play. They've got time to kind of get things going a little bit more. They've got a lot easier competition than what they played this weekend ahead. And, their SEC schedule was really backloaded. So they start the SEC against Ole Miss, which, historically pretty good in recent years, but not good this year, I don't think. They picked second to last. They weren't good last year, maybe the year before that. But I think they were picked second to last in the SEC this year. So Ole Miss is not good. There's a couple other teams that are really good. There's a couple that aren't good. The teams that Arkansas has to start the SEC schedule are not as good as the teams they'll have at the end. So they got time. Hopefully they'll be playing their best ball when it matters most in April, May, and June. That is some Arkansas baseball talk. Let's move on because I'm already going long to Arkansas basketball. Women's basketball, I should say. We already talked about men's basketball. But on the women's basketball side, another brutal loss for them yesterday. They fall to number 15 Oklahoma by 40 points, which is, I don't know why I'm saying it like that because it's nothing new, 94-54. The thing that was new is how close they kept this game for the longest time. They were only down 7 midway through the third quarter against an Oklahoma team that is one of the top 16 teams in the country and going to be a really good team when it comes to March Madness time. I don't know how Arkansas was keeping them in this game or how they were staying in this game. But after Higginbottom made a three-pointer about midway through the third quarter, Oklahoma went on a 46-13 run to end the game. The back half of the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter, they just dominated. It was senior day, so it was cool to see at least Izzy Higginbottom play decently well. The team just struggled, and that's how it's been all year. They've really struggled in this one. So those are some of my brief thoughts. Arkansas has 2 games left on the season, Missouri and A&M, so maybe they could win a couple. I think they're still kind of on the bubble, not for the NCAA tournament, but for the SEC tournament, which doesn't really matter at this point unless they somehow win the SEC tournament, which is basically impossible, less than a 1% chance to do that. So, again, my thoughts. Let's hear from head coach Mike Neighbors after the game.
We just could not stop the bleeding. We'd get a bucket, and we never could string 2 together, and they just shoot it so well. The second that you start paying attention too much inside, we knew we were going to play a lot of possessions, but, man, no way we can defend 92 shots. We've kind of got a 3-game season that we've been talking to our kids about, and I think that our kids, when we talk about living in reality world and understand it, they know when the league gets away, and they kind of started turning their focus towards the end there in that fourth quarter, and it got away from us on the score. But I think anybody that watched the games knows the score's not necessarily indicative of how we played for moments during it.
Yeah, you mentioned that there are some close parts of the game, but then, clearly the better team in Oklahoma got the win there. So 2 games left for the women's basketball team. Let's move on to Arkansas State. First for the men, the men's hoops, they desperately needed a bounce-back win as they had lost 4 of their last 5 heading into Saturday's game against Louisiana Monroe. But they got a nice win, and it was a win that was kind of expected because it's a ULM team that is not good. 95-70, you see the score behind me. It was a 1-point game midway through the first half, and the Red Wolves kind of ran away with this one. They were clearly the better team. It just took them a little bit to get going, but they were really good. DeAndre Dominguez, who I haven't talked about on this show at all, a name I barely recognize, honestly, because he hasn't put up this kind of number all year, maybe once or twice, but 20 points, 4 3-pointers for Dominguez. Isaiah Nelson, 18 points, 10 rebounds. I think it was earlier in the week he had like a 23-rebound game. It was in their loss to Troy or South Alabama. But he's been playing really good right now on the boards for the Red Wolves. Darian Ford with 14 points, Taron Todd for 14 points. They have some weapons. A lot of teams run the zone against him. At least that's what the past 2 teams have done. They were able to exploit it in this game and have a lot of fast break points as well. But in their game before that, I think in their loss to to Troy, I think it was, they just couldn't get past that zone. And that's what led to the loss. So a little bit of a frustrating loss, or excuse me, a little bit of frustrating as of lately for Arkansas State. But a win here certainly helps for momentum's sake and helps them with their standings. The Sun Belt men's college basketball standings are a bit crazy right now. James Madison in first, just like on the women's side, and then a three-way tie for second place with A-State, South Alabama, and Troy. South Alabama or Troy are the two teams that A-State has recently lost to. So those have if there was a tiebreaker scenario, I'm pretty sure Arkansas would get the 4 seed in the upcoming SBC tournament. But they got 2 games left to go, at Louisiana and at Louisiana Monroe, the team they just played. Both of those games should be wins. We'll see what South Alabama and Troy do and see if Arkansas State can hang on to get a 2 or maybe a 3 seed. The Sun Belt Conference is weird. We'll talk about that a week from now. But that's a little bit of my thoughts from this game. Let's hear from head coach Brian Hodgson after the game about the improvements he wants to see out of his team as they finish off their regular season.
To win in March, conference tournaments, and you've got to be firing on all cylinders, and I think we're headed in that direction. And so just continue to get better on both sides of the basketball, especially in the fine details of things, and get everybody on the same page. And when I say that, these guys all get along. There's no selfishness, none of that. But everybody focused and locked in for 40 minutes here, whether it's 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, whatever it is. These last 2 on the road and then through the conference tournament.
Yeah, Coach mentioned there 2 games left once again at Louisiana and then at Louisiana Monroe. 2 games that should be wins for the Arkansas State men's team. That's the men's. Let's flip on to the women's side. They fall on the road to Coastal Carolina 86-70. First time they've been blown out since late December in the Appalachian State game. Coastal Carolina just dominated from the get-go. Red Wolves did okay for a little bit of this game, but from the start, it just seemed like Coastal Carolina was making everything that they threw at the goal. I mean, it was every single shot seemed to be going in, and then A-State just couldn't seem to recover. When you look at statistics, they forced 23 turnovers, which is great. Like, that's really impressive. But it's odd because I guess Coastal Carolina they started out so well in this game. I only watched probably a little bit of most of the first quarter and then not much after that, so I don't have a ton of knowledge I'm coming from on this one, so that's why it is a little bit confusing, to be quite frank with you guys. But they were hot. They couldn't miss in the first quarter for Coastal Carolina. Some bright spots. Zion Shannon, 21 points. Kennedy Montu, 12 points. Those 2 guards have kind of been the dynamic playmakers for Arkansas State this season, but obviously wasn't enough to get the win. They've now lost back-to-back games. They had that win streak going, 12 games in a row, and they were doing really good, and, they weren't playing the greatest of teams, so that helped with the win streak. Now they are. Coastal Carolina is okay. I think Arkansas State is better. I think if A-State has this game, in the bank, I think they win. First National Bank Arena. I don't know. Arkansas State, suffers the loss in this one, but they're still in second place. JMU, just like the men's side, in first place. 2 games left for them as well, at Southern Miss and then at Troy. Southern Miss should be a win. Troy is a big game. I think that's the team that is either tied for second or close to second with Arkansas State. So A-State needs to win that one. They'll probably still be okay to get the 2 seed in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. So that is A-State women's basketball. Little Rock now, the men. It was a wild game this was over the weekend. They start out really slow, come back and kind of blow out Western Illinois 75-61. I left this game, I was filming for highlights, which I didn't get much of. Trojans were down 34-17 with 5 minutes left to go in the game. They were down 34-17, and this is what ended up being the final score. It was a complete 180. I must have been really the bad luck charm, because I left there and all of a sudden I looked at my phone about 30 minutes later. I was like, it's like a 5-point game. They started making some shots, and a big reason for that, kind of going back and looking at it, 1, fast break opportunities. 2, fast break opportunities were led from defense leading to offense, yes, but also press. Little Rock started press at Western Illinois, and that certainly helped them a lot. Toon Gotkick really brought the energy. He was getting rebound after rebound to help them kind of get back into this game and then eventually go on their run. After when they were down 34-17, the last half of the first half and then the rest of the second half, they kind of closed the game. It's not really a run, but after that point, they went on a 58-27 run. They obviously ended up ended up winning by 14 points. Jordan Jefferson was fun to watch in this game with his 25 points. Good to see a senior that's been there, I think, for 4 years. You don't see many 4-year seniors anymore. A 4-year senior have a really good game. Probably one of his better games of the season. 25 points, really impressive for him. Kind of a quiet day for Mwani Wilkinson and Jordan Lawson, the sharpshooters. Jefferson was getting going, so they didn't need to contribute as much. And Lawson certainly did as far as assists. I think he had 6 assists, but only 6 points. And Mwani Wilkinson only 12 points. In the end, though, they did what they were supposed to do, which is win by double digits. Western Illinois only had won 4 conference games this season. So Little Rock does what they're supposed to do. They're now tied for second in the OVC. 2 games left, just like everyone else. Eastern Illinois road game, and then at SIUE, another a pretty good team that will be a really big one. I think next weekend. I think that game will be next weekend. Again, an SIUE team that will probably also determine the 2 seed in the upcoming OVC tournament. So that's the men's side. Let's go to the women's. Trojans, they led by as much as 15 in the first half, and then they kind of do okay after that. They hang on to win 86-80. The team had 5 players in double digits, so really impressive. Starting with Shug Williams for 21 points. She made some clutch free throws down the stretch. The freshman center, Emerald Parker, had a career-high 18 points and a couple rebounds to go with that as well. Faith Lee was efficient, 14 points, 7 from 11 from the team. Speaking of efficient, the team was really efficient, 61% from the field. They averaged 41% field goal shooting, 61% in this game. So really impressive what they were able to do. Only 9 turnovers. They're best in the conference as far as not having any turnovers and the assist to turnover ratio. So Little Rock did what they were supposed to do. They kind of hung on to win, they hung on to win in this game against Western Illinois. So here is head coach Steve Weedor on what led to his team's offensive efficiency being so high.
Well, I think we really moved the ball a little bit tonight, as far as we've been getting a little stagnant on offense, keeping it on one side and not getting it moving. But tonight we did a really good job of taking it side to side, and we got it inside a lot. We were able to drive a lot, and then when we got open jumpers, we were able to knock them down. So, I think the ball movement was a big thing tonight that really helped us.
All right, so Little Rock tied for 4th in the OVC with Southern Indiana. As far as the OVC tournament is concerned, the person in 4th gets a bye. If you're in 5th place, you do not. So important that Little Rock gets the 4 seed in the upcoming OVC tournament. 2 games left, just like everyone else. Eastern Illinois and SIUE, just like the Little Rock men. Eastern Illinois will be big as they're in 3rd place right now. SIUE should be an easy win for the Little Rock men. So that is some talk on Little Rock. We'll move on to UCA. We won't talk a lot about the men because they didn't have a game over the weekend. They did beat West Georgia on Thursday. They'll play again today, so make sure to tune back in for some highlights of that tonight. But let's talk about the women's side of things before we get talking about their win. Before we talk about their win against West Georgia over the weekend, I want to go back and show you guys something UCA head coach Tony Kemper said after their loss to FGCU on Thursday. Let's check it out.
I think I saw determination in there. I don't, in the locker room a second ago, you never know until, I get that question a lot, what lessons did you learn? Well, I think we learned things. But you never know until you watch them play again. We need a bounce back, and we've got a West Georgia team that really pressed us down at their place coming in here, and it's senior night for 6 really important basketball players at this place. And, I want them to send themselves out right. I want the people around them to send them out right. I know that tonight was tough, but they deserve that for themselves. They need to have their chins up, and they need to go be the team that they've become, which is a good one.
Again, that was after the Thursday night game when they lost to Florida Gulf Coast, a really good FGCU team. If you watched the show for long enough, I've mentioned them a few times. UCA didn't get the win on Thursday, so they're not as good as quite the best in the ASUN right now, and that's okay. FGCU is always really good. But you heard Tony Kemper say it there. They needed a bounce-back game, and that's what they got. They took down West Georgia on Saturday, 72-62. Was a little too close for comfort at times throughout this game, but they ended up getting the double-digit win. Jade Upshaw was really good to see her get going again. 22 points. She struggled in the game against FGCU. They knew she was their best player. And, she did struggle in that game against the Eagles, but in this game, really good bounce back. 22 points. Bree Stevens also had a really good game, 4 3-pointers, accounting for 16 points. The team as a whole just shot the ball so much better than they did against the Eagles, 50% from beyond the arc. That's going to win you a lot of games if you hit half the 3-pointers that you're shooting. So, again, it wasn't always pretty, but they got it done, and that they needed to get it done for momentum's sake heading into the final few games of the season. Last 2 games, Eastern Kentucky, who's okay. UCA should get past Eastern Kentucky, and then Northern Alabama, which is pretty bad. UCA should win both of these games. They should be the 2 seed. Actually, yeah, they already have the 2 seed wrapped up because they're 2 games behind FGCU in the standings, and they're 3 games ahead of whoever's in 3rd place. So I think if they lose these next 2 games, it doesn't matter. They're still a 2 seed in the tournament. Now, you don't want to lose 2 games just to lose 2 games, but what's really going to matter, they're going to play in the semifinal game. They have to win a few games to get the They have to win 1 game to get to the semifinal game, and then they're going to play in the championship game against FGCU. It's going to happen. Unless they get upset their first 2 games, they'll be playing the championship game. They'll be facing off against the Eagles again. And it'll since the Eagles beat them on Thursday, it'll be in where does FGCU play? I can't remember. Somewhere in Florida, Fort Myers. I think it's Fort Myers, Florida. It'll be at their home court. So they got to win that game to make it to the tournament. They might still be good enough to be an WNIT team, maybe, possibly. I'm not entirely sure if a team from the ASUN can be in the WNIT. I think if you're the number 2 team in the ASUN, I think you might be good enough. But we'll see if they can put up a fight. They got a good win over the weekend, so momentum heading into the final few games of the season. That is UCA. Let's move on to UAPB. The women, they lost again. In overtime is a close one here. Just a 2-point loss to Prairie View, their 7th loss in a row. And then the men, their 2nd conference win of the season. I was disappointed I didn't get to talk about this in any of my broadcasts from the weekend, so that's the beauty of this show. I can talk about it to you guys here. So we got any UAPB fans watching. Congratulations to your Golden Eagles. You are correct. It has not been the best of seasons for the Golden Eagles, but they get a pretty nice win against Prairie View, 75-64. That is all the basketball talk. Deep breath. We're going to go quickly over some few things before we end this show. Quickly for Arkansas softball. Over the weekend also had a pretty big weekend series. Just like the Razorbacks played against a couple different opponents, Arkansas and California. They took down Rutgers 10-0, and then Cal State Fullerton 10-0. Both those games in 5 innings. Run ruled both those teams, who are okay teams. Then beat Loyola Marymount 6-2. Then run ruled Baylor, who's a Power 4 team. Baylor's not ranked. They're probably not amazing in softball. I don't know. But to run rule a Power 4 team, that's pretty good. And Arkansas is pretty good. Remember that, because this next part isn't going to make you happy if you don't know what's going to happen here. Arkansas, they do so well, and then they face off against one of the best teams in the country, number 4 UCLA, and got run ruled by the Bruins. 9-1 the final score after 5 innings. Arkansas had some chances in the first few innings of this game. They couldn't take advantage of some runners in scoring position. Their one and only run in this game came from Bree Ellis, a solo home run to center field. And, if you haven't heard her name, I haven't talked about her, I don't think, but maybe once on this show. She is very good. She's one of the best players in college softball this season. So keep an eye on her. Keep an eye on Coach Deifel and this Razorbacks team, because just because they lost to UCLA, who's a team that's almost for sure going to make it to Oklahoma City to the College World Series, doesn't mean Arkansas is dead in the water. And it's still so early. This was their 9th game of the season, 10th game, I can't even remember. But with Bree Ellis on their side, they're good. She's batting a .563 ERA, 7 home runs on the season. So really good for her. And the Razorback women, Some other quick notes on some other baseball and softball scores. Not the best of weekends for other teams in our area. UCA softball actually did good. 10-2 win over SIUE and an 8-0 run rule win over South Dakota State. On the flip side, a lot of these other teams I'm going to quickly go over not as good. UCA baseball, their first home series this weekend, a 5-9 loss to Eastern Michigan on their first game, and then a 14-6 loss yesterday. Game 3 will be happening as we speak, or may have already concluded by the time this airs. That's UCA. Little Rock, they started out their season really good last weekend against Evansville. They swept them, but then they go on the road against Nichols. They've lost back-to-back games there. They're playing Louisiana Monroe today at 4, so we'll see if they can respond against a ULM team that's probably not as good as the Nichols team. We'll have to see how that game goes down. That is Little Rock, Arkansas State. They opened their also home opener, and they also lost 7-1. They've got a doubleheader today to close the series out. And UAPB still looking for their first win after some frustrating losses against Stephen F. Austin. Softball also lost to Jackson State, but then they turned around, doubleheader, played another team, Mississippi Valley State, and got the win 6-3. So good to see Golden Lion softball doing okay. We'll end my show how we always do, with the Lutties Look Ahead. Back to basketball talks. It's a big one, folks. I mean, all the ones are big ones from here on out. I get it, but it's just another big one as far as these are both two teams on the bubble. Like Missouri could afford to, it didn't hurt Missouri that much to lose to the Razorbacks. If Texas loses to the Razorbacks, they could be not in the NCAA tournament. If Arkansas loses to the Longhorns, they could not be in the NCAA tournament. It's a huge implication for who is going to make it into March Madness. Hopefully Arkansas can shut down what is a pretty good Longhorns team. They've got Trey Johnson, who's leading the SEC in points per game. If they can shut him down, they have a really good chance at getting the win. Well, that's it. That's my show, Luttie's Look Back, episode 22. I had a fun time as always. Please be sure to follow me on social media at Nick Luttie on Twitter and at Nick Luttie TV on Facebook. I'm always willing and accepting to hear anything you guys want to tell me about how I can improve this show. I do this because it's fun, and I do this for you guys, the viewer, as well. So hopefully I included your team. Please feel free to let me know. That's going to do it for Luttie's Look Back, episode 22. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.